Head over to patreon.com/MWilliamPhelps and sign up for my free content page, where I'll be interacting with you, doing live streams, posting exclusive content, and dropping a major limited series podcast exclusively for Patreon members. That's patreon.com/MWilliamPhelps. patreon.com/MWilliamPhelps. A woman is at home with her 2 young children. In 3 months, she'll give birth to a third. Her husband, who claims to have gone out looking for work, comes home to find her and her unborn child brutally slain. When investigators arrive, they find the couple's 2 children unharmed. My name is M. William Phelps. I'm an investigative journalist and the true crime author of close to 50 books. I've dedicated the past 20 years of my life to helping families of the missing and murdered. Join me. We're crossing the line. Today, perhaps more than at any other time in recent history, I think people crave a more serene, simplistic lifestyle, and most would gladly give up their addiction to technology if it was feasible within the scope of a world so dependent on staying connected at all times. And so there we find ourselves, lights out, in bed, doom scrolling through silly cat and Sasquatch TikTok videos, or locked into some other mind poison, flipping the pages with our finger until our eyes bleed, being lulled to sleep by a digital screen. I once spent a week in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, researching a book. In that book, a mortician murders his wife after beginning an affair with a Mennonite girl he winds up getting pregnant. This scumbag was actually having sex with his mistress in the basement of the funeral home he owned in front of the dead bodies he was embalming, preparing for burial. Which told me that you can find darkness in even the most peaceful of settings. I learned many lessons while out in Lancaster County. For one, I never would have suspected that the Walmart stores in the area have specific spaces in the car parks for the Amish to park their horse and buggies while they shop. Gotta hand it to Walmart to cater to the needs of the Amish, who apparently need to buy needless trinkets and household items like the rest of us. I also realized that the Amish and Mennonite communities, beyond anything else, just want to be left alone. To do their thing the way they choose to do it. Judge them, make fun of them, gawk at them. They don't seem to care or even notice. They live their lives in quiet contemplation inside a bubble and believe what they believe. When the two cultures, us and them, mix on a social level or out in the world, strange things can happen. Two very different ways of life collide within a space the Amish is forced to occupy if they want to do business outside their own communities. This is why the Amish tend to not even look at you or acknowledge your existence. It's not because they're arrogant or rude. They just want to be able to do their thing and go about life the way they choose without being subjected to the temptations or ills of a secular world around them. Do they have the same issues we all have? Well, to some extent, absolutely. Do they have crime within that community? They sure do. Some of the most bizarre and appalling crimes you can imagine. But those crimes, same as the rest of the world, do not define who they are as a people. In Crawford County, Pennsylvania, which is in the northwestern region of the state, not far from Lake Erie, agriculture and manufacturing have been the backbone and sustaining method of commerce since the county was established in 1800. So you might see why Sparta Township, within that county, claims the crown for being the largest Amish settlement in the area. Out on the 21,000 block of Fish Flats Road in Sparta Township, you can find Schrock's Amish General Store, Ruby Ranch, and Byler Construction, along with that simple, seemingly carefree, slower-paced lifestyle I mentioned. In fact, Fish Flats Road hardly ever sees a motor vehicle, but is instead more commonly used by horse and buggy. And I should note here that since this is obviously not a travel or culture podcast, you might have a feeling by now what's coming. How that tranquil and quiet life up there in Crawford County is about to be rocked by evil. On February 26th, 2024, just after noon, the local state police barracks receives a 911 call. Deceased female found at scene. That female, an Amish girl, is 23 years old, married with 2 toddlers at home. She is also 6 months pregnant. The indication is that her husband claims he came home, walked in, and found her body. But his 2 young children are apparently unharmed. Within 30 minutes, the place is swarming with state police and first responders. Expecting her 3rd child, Rebekah Byler sustained fatal injuries to her neck and head, early reports indicate. Though this will be corrected later, state police on scene believe that she had been possibly strangled and beaten to death. A local woman had driven Rebekah's husband home in a motor vehicle after he spent the morning, he tells police, looking for what he calls roofing jobs. As they should, state police investigators raise an eyebrow to this. An Amish man with a female in a motor vehicle, gone from his house, and within that time frame, his pregnant wife is viciously murdered? You'd have to set your sights immediately on the husband. As we like to say here on Crossing the Line, 2 and 2 generally always make 4, and spousal murder, be it in Amish country or outside Amish country, is the most obvious answer if one is taking a guess, that is. Because right now, investigators have no evidence other than several circumstantial assumptions that Rebekah's husband has had anything to do with her murder. State police secure a search warrant based on what they uncover inside the house. A warrant covering the house itself, the property, surrounding area, and any outbuildings in the immediate area. During a press conference later on that day, Pennsylvania State Police Trooper Cindy Schick tells reporters, anything that maybe seems suspicious, if your gut instinct is saying something's not right, we want that reported. We will follow up. We will make sure that that information is received here and then passed on to our investigators. Again, nothing is too small at this point. We are relying on the community and their help. This will turn out to be a smart move on the state police's part, getting that community involved right away. If there is one thing they can depend on with the Amish community, it is their ability to come together during a time of need. I once saw a group of Amish men lift up an entire barn and move it to another area on the property. That's teamwork. When one in this community hurts, they all hurt. They all get together and show support. So if any member of this community knows anything about this murder, they will come forward. The state police can count on that. One of the first pieces of interesting information investigators get is from Rebekah's husband himself, Andy Byler. He explains that about 3 weeks back, he was suddenly awakened one night at about 10:30 p.m. He opens his eyes and dials into the sound of a motor vehicle sitting, idling in his driveway. So Andy gets up, finds a flashlight, or torch, depending on where you're from, and he heads outside to check it out. It's the barn, he realizes. He can see one of the doors ajar, so he heads in. There's a man with a prominent, shaved, bald head, kind of tall and heavy, standing inside the barn. So Andy wants to know what this guy is doing on his property. "Oh," the man says, startled. "I'm looking to buy your place." What an odd time to be house hunting without a real estate agent, looking at a property that is not for sale. Andy tells the guy now is not the time. "I'll return tomorrow then," the bald guy says, before getting into his vehicle and taking off. He never comes back. State police need to find this man. They are also interested in the fact that Rebekah's killer allowed the children to live, a question plaguing them. Why? This tells them something about the murder, for sure. Within a day of finding Rebekah's body, they have completely ruled Andy Byler out. The guy did not kill his wife. Though, whoever did had no interest in the children or even killing them because they might have witnessed the murder of their mother. Then another member of the Amish community from within the township steps forward with what she believes could be important information. "Weirdest thing," she says. "There's this one guy who has been known to provide what the Amish refer to as taxi service for the group. And this woman had used the man's service on 2 occasions. She didn't know him necessarily, but certainly remembered what he looked like. And then one day, sometime after she used his taxi service, there he is, on her property. He shows up driving a red Jeep Liberty. He's dressed in a black hat, black pants, black sport coat, and black sunglasses. He is also packing. He has a handgun in a holster strapped to his waist. "I was wondering about the church," he says to this woman. "If I could attend church services." This seemed odd to her. A dude seemingly dressed for a Matrix convention wanting to attend an Amish church. "What time are services?" he asks. She tells him. He leaves, and they never see him again. She is asked by investigators to describe the guy. She provides the same description as Andy Byler had about his encounter. Yet this Amish woman has additional information. She has the dude's name. Let's take our first break here. Come right back. Amish church services can vary depending on the community. Yet they all focus on a few key beliefs, with an emphasis placed on faith, family, obedience to God's will, and a strict policy of living life separate from modern society. Humility is a core tenet, as is simplicity. Family and community are emphatically central to the life the Amish strive to live. They support one another. As I said, they share resources and offer aid to one another whenever needed. No questions asked. For outsiders, like the Matrix dude dressed in all black, to enter into Amish church services, he would need to be invited. You can't just roll up on an Amish church and sit down. Not how it works. When Amish mingle with those outside the community, developing trust is a key component within the idea of an outsider stepping into the Amish's world. There could also be a language barrier, as many Amish speak Dutch or German. As details of this horrific, brutal murder of a pregnant Amish woman, Rebekah Byler, begin to trickle out, a motive seems unclear. Rebekah was found on her back in the living room, lying in a pool of her own blood, with multiple sharp force wounds on her neck. And after an autopsy, it's also clear that Rebekah wasn't bludgeoned to death, as some might have originally believed. She had been shot in the head. Mr. Dressed in all black, Matrix Man, seems like a viable suspect. He's been acting sketchy and showing up on the property uninvited of several community members. And by the day after Rebekah's murder, state police now have his name. Shawn C. Cranston, a guy known around the community as an outsider looking in, trying to get close to several Amish families, asking bizarre questions and acting kind of weird. As investigators start to look deeper into this guy, they become interested in Cranston's bio on his Facebook page, where he states clearly what he thinks of himself. Quote, "I'm someone's worst nightmare if they mess with me and mine." Okay, dude, you're a tough guy. We get it. You walk around the Amish community with a weapon on your hip, and you have this Travis Bickle vibe about you. You know that name. Robert De Niro played Travis in the film Taxi Driver. And as it turns out, Cranston is actually a taxi driver to the Amish. Go figure. I can almost see Cranston at home in his bathroom, staring into the mirror, acting out Travis's iconic line. "You talking to me?" Rebekah's husband had left the house, he tells law enforcement, around 10 a.m. He says he was out scouting roofing jobs, as I said, with a woman, another taxi driver, taking him around. If you'd have asked me before this case, I'd have had no idea the Amish take taxis. But there you go. So the initial theory, which turns out to be accurate, is that Rebekah had been murdered somewhere between 10 a.m. and 12 when Andy Byler returned to the house and found his wife slain. Inside and around the Byler home, several noteworthy pieces of evidence are uncovered within the first 24 hours, made even more compelling by knowing the type of life the Amish lead. Why would, for example, shoe prints from Nike Air Force One sneakers be found in the mud around the entrance to the home and in the dirt driveway? The Amish do not wear traditional clothing, certainly not Nike sneakers. They also find tire tracks from what appears to be an SUV or truck in the Byler's driveway, and the Amish absolutely do not drive motor vehicles. Those tracks, incidentally, do not match the vehicle Andy Byler was driven around in that morning while he was looking for work. So they know those tracks belong to the killer. Inside the house, by Rebekah's body, they discover a fragment, a piece torn off a black rubber glove. So whoever murdered Rebekah had obviously planned to hide his identity by wearing gloves. Andy Byler then tells investigators that he was speaking to his boys, who were home at the time of the murder and were just feet away from their mother when she was killed. And the Byler's oldest child, a boy, 3 years old, tells his dad, quote, "A man wearing sneakers killed my mommy." This man described by the boy fits with a simple description of Cranston. A brutish-looking son of a bitch. Nothing like Keanu Reeves or anyone else from The Matrix, I should note. Cranston is heavy-set and bald, as that Amish woman had already said. He sports a round, pudgy face, a gray and white goatee. He has this beady look in his eyes as well, as if there is some serious rage hiding in there somewhere. There is also this obvious sense of Cranston being a bully, a man who likes to threaten people and present this image that he is some sort of badass. A badass, we should note, packing a gun, hanging around a group of people who shun violence of any kind. Cranston lives with his wife in the town of Courant, which is about 8 miles from the Amish community he seemed to be so interested in. He has a camper on his property. After obtaining a search warrant for Cranston's home and property, lo and behold, they find a pair of those Nike sneakers hidden under Cranston's mattress. What are the chances? And look, why didn't the dude just toss the sneakers instead of hiding them? I'll never understand the absolute stupidity of some murderers. I've said this before. Most murderers plan everything down to a science right up until the time of the crime, and almost nothing afterwards. Just too freaking damn ignorant and dumb to think ahead. I'll go with the latter. Those sneakers are just the beginning. Byler's wife owns a Jeep Patriot, and the tire tracks from that vehicle found in the Cranston driveway match identically to those in the Byler's driveway. They find the same black plastic gloves inside Cranston's house, matching with the fragment found inside the Byler house. Cell phone records place Cranston's cell phone at the Byler residence during the time of the murder. The guy actually brought his phone with him to a crime scene. GPS data from the Jeep Patriot matches the exact route from Corey to the Byler residence right into the freaking driveway. Look, to avoid all of this, you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar or some sort of master criminal genius villain from a James Bond film, or even a dim-wit half-brain criminal at that. You just need common sense, which apparently Cranston does not have. Then there's the CCTV, which tracks Cranston's movements in the Jeep from his home near 8:40 a.m. to the Byler residence near 10 a.m. and then to a car wash in Corey, Pennsylvania, post-murder. I wondered after reading this detail, what was he washing off? What was the purpose of going to the car wash? The Jeep was only used to drive to the scene of the crime. He didn't use the Jeep to run her over. What is he washing off? More CCTV from across the street of the Cranston residence shows a dude, a stupid one, matching Cranston, a heavyset bald guy dressed like a skinny version of Neo from The Matrix, between 2:15 and 5:15 p.m., taking items out of the Jeep, walking over to the side of his camper, and then starting a fire and burning those items. Inside the Cranston home, they find 6 firearms, dozens of casings, boxes of ammunition, holsters, an entire box of those same plastic gloves, magazines for the weapons, and other items one might consider having on hand for some sort of shootout. As criminals go, the guy is a frickin' imbecile. But don't get me wrong, I am absolutely elated by this, because killing a pregnant 23-year-old woman secures your place in hell, if hell is only the treatment you will receive when they place your ass in prison. I'm going to take my final break here before I launch into some sort of rant about how absolutely stupid this bastard is, and, more seriously, how utterly senseless, once the motive is established, the vicious murder of this young Amish mother and her unborn child actually was. I need your help. Please subscribe to Crossing the Line wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget, leave a review of the show, especially on Apple Podcasts, and log on to crossingtheline.biz or mwilliamphelps.com to contact me and suggest cases, or just say hi. And look for me across all social media platforms using the @ symbol and my name, M. William Phelps. Thank you for supporting this show. I am allowed to do it because of you, and that truly means more to me than I can say. Be right back. Rebekah was 23 years old, pregnant, inside the sanctity of her home, taking care of her 2 young boys, while her husband was out looking for work. And this scumbag, wannabe gangster type of tough guy, decides to kill her and her unborn child. And for what? Turns out Cranston had been stalking Amish farms and homes, searching for the best places to burgle. There was no sexual motive here, no hate crime, so to speak, whereby he had this building resentment against the Amish. The guy was breaking into the Byler home to rob them, and apparently Rebekah was startled by his presence and she screamed, which set him off. So he tried choking her first, but she wouldn't pass out. Then he took a knife and slit her throat. When she wouldn't die quick enough, Cranston pulled out his weapon and shot the poor woman in the head. How do we know what happened inside that house? The source, certainly for all of that, is not a 3-year-old boy. It's a prison inmate who befriended Cranston after Cranston was arrested for the murder, and this guy later testified that Cranston described the entire murder scene. Cranston is said to have gone by the nickname Rumble. Real tough name, right? Rumble. What is it, 1950? The guy couldn't come up with anything scarier or more aggressive? Rumble, for heaven's sakes? Interestingly enough, Cranston never called any witnesses during his trial. After the prosecution presented a solid case, the defense rested. It took a jury 3 hours to find him guilty. Afterward, Pennsylvania Attorney General Dave Sunday said something quite sincere that resonated with me and sums up what is a pointless murder. And by pointless, I mean that when someone kills for insurance money or custody of a child, sex, or some other ridiculous reason, we can at least see that they had some sort of rationale, however psychotic and skewed it might be. But to kill a pregnant woman during the commission of a robbery? Anyway, AG Dave Sunday said this: "It is hard to fathom conduct more heinous than brutally killing a young expectant mother and her unborn child in her home. Our homes are supposed to be our safe haven. This defendant violated the sanctity of home to commit these truly evil acts." Spot on. Evil acts. Cranston will be sentenced in late 2025 and is expected to receive a life sentence for a case that seems to be an almost textbook capital punishment fit, if we could only be so lucky. I mean, this piece of shit murdered an expecting mother in front of her 2 young children. And so, in my opinion, if we are going to have the death penalty in this country, whether you agree with it or not, can we not somehow find a way to get cases like this one to fall under that bar? If not, why have the damn death penalty at all? That's it for this week. Be safe, be aware. Sources for this episode include Commonwealth versus Shawn Cranston, search warrant affidavit. A truck driver is convicted, Associated Press, June 16th, 2025. He walked into an Amish home and killed a pregnant woman with her children feet away. People magazine by Leslie Cosme Torres, June 13th, 2025. Office of David W. Sunday Jr., press release, June 12th, 2025. Crossing the Line is executive produced by M. William Phelps, LLC, and Matthew Valentinus, Mom's Basement Management. Written by me, M. William Phelps. Audio mastering and mixing by Matt Russell. Music by Epidemic Sound. Original music written and performed by Thomas Mooney, Tom Phelps, and Matt Russell.